Good evening. This is Moses Ross. You are at the February 2024 regular meeting of the Multnomah Neighborhood Association. We've got a pretty busy schedule here today. The first part of this meeting will be two guest speakers, but we're going to, and we'll also talk a little bit about what you'll see that we have a little bit on M&A development. We'll have committee reports at 7:55 and go from there. So thank you all for showing up on a beautiful Tuesday night in Multnomah. We've got, let's see here. I would entertain, everybody has the meeting minutes that they've been able to take a look at. I know that there are some revisions to the equity committee that you would ask to have made, and we'll make that note there that you have those two topics. If the agenda if there are no other changes to the agenda, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Jane, yes. Give me a so moved. So moved. We got a so moved from Jane Green, our board member. And so thank you. The minutes from our previous meeting are in the meeting material folder, the public folder. They were placed there a week ago. Are there any revisions or changes to the meeting minutes that are required? No. Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the last meeting. Jane? So moved. That was so moved by Jane Green, board member. Wonderful. Okay. Well, here we go. Let's see. First off, let's have a quick report from the officers. Right now, first president, myself. I'll let the meeting agenda do my talking. We have a lot that we have going on here this month, so I'll defer to that. Our vice president is Beth Omansky. Beth, are you with us?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hello. Sure can.
Hello.
Hi. Hello. Welcome. Do you have anything to report in your officer report section?
Not officer report.
Okay, thank you. Next would be our treasurer. Jane, could you hand Todd the microphone for me, please? And up next is our treasurer, Tad Davis. Anything to report?
My name is Tad Davis. Yes, today I can deposit down to the bank. Your online banking.
Yay. So so great. I know that we had been working on getting everything cleaned up there at the bank so that we were able to virtually access everything. So thank you for that. And last but not least, Secretary Julie Lee. Anything to report? Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. Well, we just gained 4 minutes, and that's good. That'll make this time a little bit quicker for us all. Let's move on to the next section. This will actually work out well because this will allow for 20 minutes for our guest speakers each. Under M&A development, folks may have noticed in the, we've been in the news, the latest Southwest Community Connection newspaper, which is direct mail to all the residents out here in Southwest, put us on the front page. And I just want to tell all my volunteers and all of my new board members and officers, thank you. Thank you very much. We've made, it's nice to get some good press and to let, and it's actually had a wonderful benefit. We've been getting inquiries about volunteerism, about the trash and the graffiti abatement programs. And we've got a lot to report on that as well here tonight from our livability subcommittee, which has been coordinating those efforts. So a little bit later in the meeting, we'll go into much more detail about that, but it was really nice to get some good press for our efforts here for the neighborhood association. Second, under M&A development, the board held a retreat this last Saturday. Not all of us were able to attend, but the vast majority of the board, the new board, was able to attend. We had, what was it? 4, 8, 10 people there. 10 out of 13 or 8 out of 12. That's right. 8 out of 12. And what was really exciting about the board retreat is that we were able to walk out of there with solid action steps to take to firm up the management of our new 501c3 nonprofit, neighborhood association, and to make sure that our finances and are transparent and open, and to then in turn also get very clear on what our mission is as far as within the community, how we communicate to the community, and how we can empower the residents. So that was, I was just pleased as punch. We had a good response, a good turnout at the retreat, and this will be the first of many, I'm sure, every year. I'd like to do this on an annual basis. I hope the board will continue this because, and quite honestly, you know, in this time of post-COVID, you know, we had not all met face to face. And so the retreat did serve that purpose, to be able to bring us all together in one location and put names behind the faces, behind the names, and faces behind the voices, if you will. So that was really good. And so thank you to all the new board members that attended and to all the officers, and yeah, good stuff. Very good stuff. It's 7:10, and this is good because now we can let's get straight into our first guest speaker here. Our first guest speaker is Bonnie McKinley. She's from the Maplewood neighborhood, from Maplewood. She lives in the Maplewood neighborhood, adjacent to Multnomah, of course. But she's here to speak to us about the Critical Energy Infrastructure Hub, and she represents 350 PDX. So get ready to, I hope everybody's sitting down because what she's going to share with us is pretty mind-boggling, quite honestly. I sure can. Okay, here's the mic. And so up next will be Bonnie, and I'm going to switch the video over so it's on her.
Actually, they're good friends, I love them, but I'm working with Emerging Coalition, and
We can't hear you.
sorry, I'm not turned on.
Here, try that one.
Could we have on the
Yeah, maybe that would be the best way to do it. Actually, what I need to do here is I just need to make sure this counts.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I know why. Shoot. Sorry, guys.
Speak what? Can you speak to the factor as well?
Yeah, there's a way that if you guys give me. Yeah, I've got to make sure.
Right.
Hang in there, Alden. The challenges of hybrid meetings. Ah, okay.
I work very closely with you. Still can't hear you. Sorry. Yeah.
Here, try now. Testing.
Okay. I am with the Maplewood Neighborhood Association.
Is the microphone turned on?
Yeah,
Still,
People who are not in your connected meeting, is that correct? Can you hear me now?
wait a
No.
second. Just a second, please. Okay, let's. Will, can you hear me now? Can
I
you hear
can
me?
hear you, but I can't hear her.
Okay, wait a second. Let's try that one more time.
No. Can you hear me?
You're gonna have to speak a little bit louder.
Yes. Okay. I just wanted to say, I'm with the Maplewood Neighborhood Association. I'm public safety climate. They threw in climate just because of stuff we do in my spare time.
We still can't hear the speaker.
Oh, hello. Hello. Can you hear me now?
Wait a second, it might be because of me here. I'm sorry.
Is there?
20 seconds, I see what you see. Yeah, it makes sense to do that. I'm trying to make sure that the speakers. Okay, try that. Will, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Are you speaking the microphone or are you speaking on your PC?
I'm speaking to the microphone. Yeah, I think so.
We're in the market for an IT person, if anybody wants to volunteer.
Technical difficulties.
I don't know. I think the mics are not synced. I think it's coming from his PC and not the mics. But I'm not sure.
How about now, Will? Can you hear me online?
I can hear you online. Are you away from your PC and in a microphone? Have Bonnie try it again.
How about now, Will?
I still can hear you.
Okay, so that tells me the mic is working.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now we can.
Oh, good, good. Okay, I'll just say it one more time.
She's not speaking in the right.
Oh, that's close enough.
And protecting people in the room.
Okay, I'm with Maplewood Neighborhood Association, just west of here, good neighbor to the west. I'm with public safety and my neighborhood association. I've lived in this area since 1995. And Multnomah Village is my favorite Portland urban area. So, I'm here representing Emerging Coalition, which is a number of organizations. We have a number of work groups. One is,
Oh, that's-
you
Can hear you.
pardon? You can't hear me?
Yeah, we just started like 3 seconds ago. Well, now we can hear you. So stay there.
Okay, well, you know what? I don't think anybody needs your introduction anymore, but people have heard it over and over again. So here I am, and I'm representing the Emerging Coalition. And we have a sign-on letter that we're requesting the Multnomah Neighborhood Association to sign on to. And I don't, we have 35 other neighborhood organizations who have signed on to it, and 17 organizations. Our group, Emerging Coalition, is making the rounds from neighborhood association to neighborhood association with our sign-on letter. And I have sent it out, and I'll be happy to give it to anyone. And I do have, for people in the room, I have a sign that if you would like to get any of the materials that I refer to or that are associated with concerns about the Critical Energy Infrastructure Hub or the CEI Hub. The sign-on letters will be delivered to Governor Contact, DDQ Director Ian Eldon, members of the Portland City Council, members of the Multnomah
Well, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can't hear her, and her screen is frozen. Her.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't hear anybody else but you at the moment. Oh, technology.
I'm not hearing any yeses.
Yeah, you just made. Okay, there we go. Go ahead.
Okay. So is the projection?
There we go. And you can just scroll down and then I can share the screen. Okay, and that's where we're at right now.
So this is an aerial view of the CEI hub. And as you can see, Forest Park on the left and the Willamette River on the right, and Highway 30 running along there also on the left there. And we can advance it.
Okay, okay. So, okay. There we go.
So I'll do it this
And
way.
you can just do it that way. So
Where?
the map is right there. The screen, small as.
Oh. Thank you. So there is a toxic mix of materials there. And we've got all sorts of gasoline, diesel, or 100% of Portland's aviation fuel is stored there. And there's asphalt, kerosene, naphtha. As regards to the crude oil, Canadian tar sands oil is no longer going through the CEI hub, but Bakken crude oil is going through. And then there's the other things that you can see on the screen: butane, propane, liquefied natural gas.
I apologize.
No problem. I totally get it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And so there's just many health impacts with all the toxics. And you can see on the screen, I'm not going to read it for you, but among them, these, there just isn't, DEQ is not monitoring the emissions that are coming through. Low birth rates, cancers, cardiovascular diseases, asthma, depression, dementia, and everything we burn, we breathe. I'm not going to talk about that. So this is a map that came from the Portland Bureau of Emergency Management. And you can see in the very dark color, the very high liquefaction. The CEI hub rests in a seismic liquefaction zone. And we all have been very familiar with our upcoming chances of
Cascadia subduction zone earthquake coming up. And even if we are not located in this serious dark area, we know that we will be impacted by the fumes, the emissions, the spills into the Willamette River, going down to the Columbia. The economies of both Oregon and Southwest Washington rest very much on the health of the Willamette and Columbia's rivers. So the Multnomah County and the city of Portland in 2022 released this very important fact booklet, and you can see the summary online easily. I brought it with me, but it's a quite lengthy report, and it compares the impacts from a possible earthquake, very similar to the Deepwater Horizon disaster. The difference is the Deepwater Horizon was in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. Of course, it caused all sorts of marine and economic and human and environmental loss, but it wasn't in the middle of our major Portland urban area, which the CEI hub is. When the CEI hub was first constructed decades ago, people weren't aware that we had this Cascadia subduction zone threat on our shoulders. And they just didn't realize. And the tanks have not been maintained the way they need to be. This chart here comes from another report from DEQ that I can send you the link to, and it just shows how much of the seismic retrofit has been completed in the CEI hub. Another problem with the CEI hub is it's right in the area of the Portland Harbor Superfund site, which is, dealing with all the 100 years of toxics that have been dumped into the Willamette. So in the event of an earthquake, that would definitely affect the CEI hub. It would also sort of eliminate any work that's been done for the Superfund site. In 2022, State Senator Michael Dembro from Northeast Portland implemented and led the campaign to pass, and it did pass the full Oregon State Legislature, House Senate Bill 1567. And Senate Bill 1567 calls for a number of, about 10 of the facilities in Portland at the CEI hub to be addressed in terms of their seismic ability to withstand an earthquake, their seismic vulnerability. It also is involved with facilities in Lane and Columbia County. But it's just a beginning. It's just that 10 of the facilities in the CEI hub in Portland have to have their facility examined by engineers, approved, and reports sent to DEQ. They have until June of 2024 to do that. Speaking with DEQ people, I've been told that they expect the appeal process and just the whole completion of the project of making sure everybody's safe in the CI hub through 1567, till June 2024. So one of the concerns about the CEI hub is Zenith Energy. Zenith Energy is located within the hub. A lot of people were surprised when Zenith Energy first came onto the scene because it was right after Portland had passed a fossil fuels, no more new fossil fuels in Portland. And they came in anyway, but they came in through an asphalt company had owned this site. And then they had sold it to a company called Arc Logistics, and Zenith Energy bought it from Arc Logistics. And there's been a lot of concern because they transport millions of gallons of oil through the Columbia River area and all the communities along the rail and the Columbia River, and then through Portland neighborhoods, and then out. And then none of the fuel is used in Oregon. It's all shipped out of the state and out of the country. A lot of people have protested the Zenith. And this is just another event that happened when Zenith first opened. People were holding signs that said, Zenith, you missed the memo. We don't allow fossil fuels in our city anymore. So there's been all sorts of legal concerns and legal battles about this. And I don't know if I ran out of time, but just showing you some of the protests that have happened. And there's been big billboards along Highway 30, and those are some of them. So I'm going to shut this off and see if there's any questions and talk a little bit about our letter. And I just want to go back and say that I'm coming from the Emerging Coalition, and I want to share our statement of purpose. Our intent is to develop a gathering place for individuals and member organizations to share information, design and collaborate on projects that address the health and safety risks associated with the expansion, transport, and storage of harmful substances through the communities of the Willamette and Columbia Rivers, and to reduce these harms and collectively work towards a safe and equitable, livable future. So Moses, could you tell me how much time?
It's 7:20, it's 7:35, you have 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okey doke. Let me get that letter out for you. And everybody in the room has it.
You have copies of that to pass out?
I passed them out. I don't think I gave one to you.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Everybody in the room has it, okay. Okay, so based on the findings of the City of Portland and Multnomah County's funded CEI Hub seismic risk analysis, it is clear that the critical energy infrastructure, CEI Hub, poses serious health, safety, cultural, social justice, economic, and environmental risks to every Portland neighborhood and the entire Pacific Northwest region. The 2022 legislative action that passed Senate Bill 1567, addressing the potential dangers associated with the CEI Hub, is a commendable first step, but not enough. We, the undersigned, Portland neighborhood associations, and other organizations, therefore support the following actions. Through ongoing and widespread media campaigns, local, city, county, regional, and state officials must educate and alert the people of the greater Portland area to the dangers of the CEI Hub. Yes, there has been front page stories. There has been news reports. But when I ask my neighbors, do they know about the CEI Hub? They say no. And even if I say, do you know about the critical energy infrastructure hub? And we talk about the seismic risk, the fuel and toxics that are stored right on the Willamette River, they're quite surprised. So we think there needs to be public service announcements. There needs to be a concerted effort to inform the people of what we have right in our what is thought to be a very green, sustainable city. Local and state agencies must take immediate action to monitor and remediate the cumulative pollution associated with the operations of the CEI Hub. Local and state governments must immediately coordinate to develop a new plan for Oregon's fuel storage. All communities must have opportunities to participate in this process. Environmental justice is at the heart of this demand. Local and state governments must require companies who operate within the CEI Hub to assume full financial responsibility for addressing potential disaster prevention, emergency services, cleanup and restoration. You know, we don't want them here and then leave when the disaster happens and leave everybody left with severe health life risks, and property value damage. You know, to be blunt, there's all sorts of economic things associated with this. The Oregon legislature must work to craft legislation that requires companies to regularly update local officials and emergency responders as to the types of fossil, bioenergy fuels, petrochemicals, and toxins that are stored and transported to and from the CEI hub. City and state agencies must monitor Zenith Energy's transport and storage of fossil fuels and substantiate with peer-reviewed research the environmental, public health, safety, and economic advantages of their transition to biofuels. In their October 2022 land use compatibility statement, the city made an agreement with Zenith Energy to stop transloading fossil fuels in 5 years and to switch to biofuels. So that's the promise from one company, Zenith Energy. We are all just one earthquake, one train derailment, one human error away from tragedy. Our elected officials and appointed representatives have the responsibility to protect the health and safety of the entire region. Please provide us with a timely response to all of these concerns. And again, that's the message to our elected officials. Okay, and I think my 5 minutes are way over time.
Perfect. Thank you. Are there any questions from the crowd, from either online or?
We've got a minute or two for some questions. Let me see about that. I saw that.
I have
Oh, here, there is a question, Bonnie. Is there a near future planned action? Protest, letter writing? Who is organizing? Who can we contact? Whom can we write at the city and the county?
Well, one of the best things is writing to your elected officials. I don't believe there is, I don't know of one right now. There was a recent action at the KAT station where they were talking about, well, there's a lot of news coming out, a lot about Taylor Swift maybe and other things, but what about the climate? And so that was an action that just happened. But I think right now, the most important thing to do is communicate, call, write your elected officials. And I'm passing that around in the room. All the materials I have a whole bunch of resources. I'm happy to send that to anyone who I get their email. And in the room, I can collect those, but I cannot collect them from people who are online.
Well, here, I'll address that just now. What we'll do is if you put a yeah, actually, yeah, let's go that way. Let me push it out to everybody. What is your contact information here, Bonnie? And I'll type it in. Bonnie.
My phone number, because I will take that too, 503-705-1943. My email address is GO350PDX@gmail.com. That's go350PDX@gmail.com.
Wonderful.
And
Go ahead.
Bonnie, can I ask also, I'm assuming that you would like MMA added to this signature, correct? Okay, so.
I'm sorry, we didn't get clear.
Yeah, and that is definitely what we'll do is, oh, we have one more question. We have another question. Go ahead, sir.
Can you speak up?
Sure. I just wonder, all the things you said were lovely and sound, like moving report, but I didn't hear any concrete, what is the result? What's the objective? I mean,
Do we have a plan?
yeah,
That's
because
right.
I think people should develop
Bill, are you there?
I'm here. Sound went away for some reason.
Okay, just making sure we haven't been dropped off the call.
It's an issue with which mics are live down there, and I can't tell what's going on.
Will, can you hear me now? Will?
I can hear you now.
Okay, when you guys interrupt like that, she was right in the middle of this, of speaking. And so, but hopefully we can figure this out. I really do apologize for the technical issues here as far as the microphones though. What we'll do, I have put Bonnie's email address in the chat. I have put her phone number in the chat, to everyone. If this is a issue that you would like to learn more about, please do reach out to her. And there are lots of action steps that can be taken. I know that there 350 PDX has activities to raise awareness about this issue all the time. And so she can definitely tap you into all of that. And it's an ongoing challenge for sure.
Did you know when you finish answering?
Oh, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
So, excuse me, I'd like to finish answering the question, not that I have a concrete answer. I am a retired school teacher. I really think this is a community statewide issue, because everything's at stake. And we need to bring in seismologists, we need to bring in engineers, we need to bring in biologists. There's just so many people and community members. You know, the Oregon legislature took this up with Senate Bill 1567, and they have an intermediary plan, like have your facility seismically tested for vulnerability, right? And that probably is going to happen for 10 years. So we're living here with an earthquake at any time, and we just need to be needing. We need action.
How about now? The folks online hear me okay? Great. Okay, let me try one more thing. When folks online hear me now. Okay, great. All right, so it looks like I've set the mics up at the proper setting. And so what we're going to do now is thank Bonnie very much
Yes,
for
Bonnie,
her
thank you.
presentation. It's a slightly stressful presentation that worked out pretty good. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me.
Oh, absolutely. This is an important issue, and I think that, you know, we need to have a discussion about it. And I'll be getting back in touch with you. I'll make sure that we talk about it, and we'll have a vote of the board whether or not to sign on to the meeting.
Right,
Sign
if
on
you
to-
need me to be here for that, vote, let me know.
Okay,
And if you need me to send the resources to you, I can do that.
oh, good. Okay, very good. All right, thank you. All right, now our next meeting presentation will be from. Here it is. Okay, it's 7:42. I'm a little bit behind, so we'll have 20 minutes next up for Lottie Porter. Lottie is with the city of Portland's Save Breast Village team, and is those lights go?
Need the spotlight.
It's like romance.
There we go. Okay, thank you. Okay,
Everyone, can you hear me?
we can.
Yeah.
Great. It's
Okay.
so lovely
to see everyone here. Thank you so much for coming, both in person and virtually. As Moses said, hi, my name is Lottie Porter. I use she, they pronouns, and I am the Community Engagement Coordinator for the City Shelter Services team. I do want to introduce my partner in crime here. This is Hendrik Broekelshen. He is a policy advisor in the mayor's office and is coming in as this site is expanding to a pretty large size to help with the GNA negotiations. Hendrik, say hello.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here.
Hello.
Hi. So, as we all know, the site is, I'm just here to provide updates on what's happening with the expansion. So, we are moving forward with an expansion to 100 units. We don't have a site plan as of yet. We're still very early in the design process and the construction process of this site. Hendrik and I will be returning as there's more significant updates to share. We've met with some immediate neighbors, and I'm meeting with some more next week to discuss the design and try to figure out how we can limit the impact on folks as much as possible. However, I don't have a design to share with you all right now. I'm just mostly here to answer any questions you might have or take any feedback you might have. There's not a huge update to share other than the size. So Hendrik and I just wanted to come and hear your thoughts about, ever since we've had the listening session, if you've had more thoughts about how we can make this expansion a success. So yeah, I'm just here to answer questions. Hendrik, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I'll do a more complete introduction. So my name is Hendrik Broekelshen. I am a policy and outreach position with the mayor's office, and I'm being brought into the conversation to primarily work on the Good Neighbor Agreement. And a reason why I'm sort of included in this conversation is as our sites get larger, we say generally breaking that like 100 pod threshold. Our intent is to bring a lot more site or services to the site, and also to have more resources to address any challenges with the surrounding neighborhood. So I'll be intimately involved with next steps in the Good Neighbor Agreement and working with the community. So this is the first but not the last you'll see of me, and Lottie and I are definitely a team on this. So I'll stop there and turn it over to this neighborhood.
When will you have a plan? When will you have a site plan?
That is,
Sorry, this is Moses.
hi Moses. Not sure yet. That is up to our development staff. However, I do think we are very close. But I'm hesitant to provide a date. Patrick?
Yeah, Patrick, I see your hand raised. Go ahead, please.
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get some very specific answer to one question, and which is, I'm sure you can agree with the multi-million-dollar project, there should be some specific goals, strategic goals for the city and for the neighborhood. And so far, I don't think we've heard those strategic goals. And so I'm hoping you can provide tonight for the group what your specific measurable goals are, quantitative goals, not qualitative goals, but quantitative, specific measurable goals for this expansion, and what the timeline is that you would expect to achieve those goals.
So, Hendrik, do you want to go at that first?
Yeah, I'll first say that I'm sort of new to jumping into the conversation with this Good Neighbor Agreement. So I'm still catching up on what's been conversed already with the Good Neighbor Agreement, where that stands. But I do want to speak to the general goals here. Without listing a bunch of facts of the number of homeless people that are sleeping on streets every night, I think everybody has a firm understanding that we have a challenge, some would call it a crisis, at our hands that includes the number of people that are sleeping on the streets at night, those that don't have access to consistent housing, in addition to other challenges that sort of started with the pandemic and also what is now a fentanyl crisis. That spurs all those things together. It's a complex situation, but our goal here is to provide these sites that are temporary sites for people. We want to see folks that are coming, that have a place to go and choose to go to, so that they can have a place to rest and a safe place to stay for, I think 60 to 90 days is the goal, while they get services brought to them, including access to get new IDs from the DMV, to get enrolled in Medicaid services, to get moving medical units to visit the site to give medical care, and then connect people to case managers to get services like behavioral, mental, and addiction services. And then ultimately, within a ballpark of 90 days, connect with county services where we can get people into longer term stable housing. So it's hard to say like, oh, we want to get this number of people into housing, because it's transitional services that will be around while we get people settled. Some people need fewer days, some people need more days to get sort of decompress from their previous situation and then be willing to take services. But we will measure the number of people that enter our sites, the number of people that move on to stable housing situations, and we're going to gather other metrics. So I know I'm not answering your question directly, and a lot
That
of
is correct. You are not answering my question directly.
I mean, I can't tell you that we're going to be able to put 200 people into stable housing every year, because it's a really hard number to I mean, we can ballpark items once we get everything figured out, but the goal is to transition people into more stable, livable situations.
Yeah, that's not a specific goal. And I would say that the multiple millions of dollars being spent on these and similar projects is a very hard number that's coming out of the pockets of everybody sitting in this room. And so if I were an elected official, I would say there's no way that I'm going to fund 3 times expansion of a project where you can't even tell me for the 30 people or 30 pods that exist now what your success rate is, which I don't think either of you is equipped to address. So that's what community outreach should be. And one final statement is, the good neighbor agreement is sitting on someone's desk. It's dead in the water. And so good luck, because I think you've lost faith with the people in this neighborhood with the good neighbor agreement that went nowhere and didn't address the real concerns of the neighborhood. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Moses.
And if I can just address the good neighbor agreement, we are taking a look at it as a team, Lottie and I, and we will be sending a draft out to everyone, and we hope to bring some more action into that document and push that forward and start to include additional feedback and push that process forward.
Additionally, we have data available on our success rate of this site and all of our shelter sites, as is both recommended by as is required by the American Rescue Plan dollars that are funding this project, and just because it's good community outreach, as you said. So if you are curious about our exact numbers, they are publicly available, and we update them quarterly.
Thank
Where
you,
can we
Lottie.
find those?
We do have, Beth, I have somebody with their hand up here in the audience, and then I'll come back to you, okay?
Fine.
Frank. Can you hear him okay, Lottie?
It was very garbled.
I'll hold the mic a little bit away and speak louder. Okay, sorry. Okay, never mind. Lottie and every disrespect I love you. I am an immediate neighbor of the site, and I've been aware, I got your nice postcard last year that said you're concerned, but I haven't been aware of any of the meetings or discussions that you mentioned. Can you provide, I want to be invited to those discussions, please. And so please provide that information about when it occurred. And then when you say, Hendrik, that with the expansion to 100 units, you're going to bring more services to the site. I understand that to mean for the residents of the safe residential, not for any other external parties that are not being housed there. Is that
So
correct?
from what I understood, you were asking about the meetings that we've held so far and the services that we'll be providing on site and who it's offered to.
Yes.
Okay, so the meetings we've held so far, we just had our listening session for this expansion back in November. We attended 2 neighborhood association meetings to talk about the expansion coming up, started receiving feedback at those meetings. We then held the listening session on the 19th in the Multnomah on November 19th in the Multnomah Arts Center. We sent mailers about it. We also have a report available about it on
I really, excuse me, I really just want to know when my next opportunity will be to have, as an immediate neighbor, to participate with immediate neighbors in your discussions. The history is fine, but it's not necessary to me.
Well, you're free to provide feedback now. However, I am working on my team on planning potentially to have another sort of conversation soon. So I will provide details as I have them. Additionally, for services on site, we are not planning on providing services to those not living in the shelter. It's only for those living in shelter, and it includes a variety of things. And Hendrik, let me know if I forget anything. Medical care, Care Oregon has been known to come on site. Sometimes there will be vaccine clinics that come and just kind of providing that kind of basic medical care. Hendrik is actually working on a workforce program right now for folks to get connected with work, as well as the traditional housing, transitional housing services that are provided by All Good and all of our shelter providers. Hendrik, is there anything else you would like to spotlight?
No, thanks.
This is Moses. I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
The Armory building itself, what role will that be playing in this expansion?
Yeah, so we are still very early in this process. And so we're still trying to figure out the likelihood of being able to use that building. There are a lot of environmental issues and livability issues related to that building, asbestos concerns, bullet holes in the wall, that kind of thing. So we are still working in the design phase to see what is possible. All Good is really invested in using that space. Understandably, we would really like them to be able to. It wouldn't be used as a sheltering space. It would just be used as an office and case management space, or possibly long-term food storage in case of an emergency. But it really depends on if we can figure out a way that we can safely put either humans or stuff in that area.
Moses, I'd like to ask a question about that when you're ready.
With your question?
My turn?
Yes, it is.
That building has bad water in it, so there would have to be new plumbing put in. It is also not ADA accessible, and I'm wondering what would be done about that. Those are my two main questions. Asbestos, yes, indeed. My father died of mesothelioma, so I am quite worried about that. The water issue, and the lack of ADA accessibility.
Yes.
Those are my three main concerns.
And I know Michelle, our development lead, is considering all of those things. We wouldn't probably use any of the other floors. It would all be that one floor most likely. Don't quote me on that. That could change. However, I'm not quite certain. I don't think that we would have water usage in the building. We would ask that folks go out into the normal part of the shelter to use water at this time, though I don't know for certain. We're still in the design process and we're not even sure if we're going to use it yet. But I appreciate you raising those concerns about that building.
Well, if you don't have ADA accessibility, then you can't hire somebody who might need that ADA accessibility. So that would be very much against the law.
Okay, thank you, Beth.
All right, very good. We have a question from someone here in the audience. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name's Lisa Carney Fenton. I live directly across the street from the SRV. I'm a little flummoxed as to why a good neighbor agreement that was drafted over 2 years ago by Frank, who's sitting here with me, and Kevin Davis, who was a colleague at Stoll Reeves Law Firm, has been sitting for 2 years. What do you need to review on the good neighbor agreement? It's done. It was done 2 years ago. I'm really need clarification on that.
So it's a complicated question. We had for a long time, there was language included in the Good Neighbor Agreement about background checks. That is something that the Joint Office was not willing to sign to, and we've had to do a lot of work and negotiation to figure out the best way to make sure that the agreement still holds, that, we're doing our best to be a good neighbor, while also making sure that we are properly serving our populations. And it has been a long process to come to this point where I don't want to speak for the whole GNA negotiation group, but I think we're all ready and willing to move past that language and are moving forward to what we can do and what we can put in that good neighbor agreement to make sure that it's successful. Hendrik, is there anything you want to add on that point?
Only that, I'm also here as an actor and hoping to share that, with me being present, I also have direct connections to the resources of the city, like our Shelter Services Coordination Center, our impact reduction teams. And so with the site expanding, I'm also here to show good faith, good effort, and hopefully bring value to this discussion as well.
Okay, so I'm going to take a little time here because I haven't been able to attend the other meetings because I work 50 hours a week and often I don't have evenings off. And I live adjacent to the site. So I still don't get a good answer on why 2 years. So you have a situation where you can't agree on a few items in the good neighbor agreement. And here we are 2 years later and we have nothing. So I'm going to move on my list. I'm part of a coalition of the Multnomah Village residents, mostly who live adjacent to the SRV and who are demanding a few things before you expand from 30 to 100 pots. We want a 24/7 security guard, 1 or 2 to be on site to mitigate all the noise that we have to endure day after day, including on-site fighting, screaming, yelling, slamming doors, dogs barking, dealing with waste management and other contractors banging and honking and disrupting the neighborhood, as well as handling the homeless who are not residents of the SRV who continue to hang out nearby and around the perimeter of the site. I would like you to address that, but not right now because I have a few more on the list. All the neighbors who live adjacent to the SRV want direct access to the security guard you'll be hiring to be able to call immediately to have dispute resolution and situations resolved. Ongoing monthly meetings with the All Good Northwest staff, security officers, and City of Portland SRV staff to help mitigate and discuss ongoing problems solved. All SRV adjacent neighbors have direct access to the same police officer that the West Hills Christian School has access to. Whenever the Christian school has problems, they can call and get them immediately resolved. We don't have that luxury. All Good Northwest employees become, as part of their job description, be required to call 311 and report violations of the 150-foot no camping ban. All Good Northwest employees, as part of their job description, be required to call and obtain support from police or mental health for problems occurring at the SRV, as well as around 150 feet to 200 feet perimeter outside the SRV. We wanted sound wall structures to be placed on the north and south sides of the SRV to mitigate the noise. And lastly, impact reduction needs to be allocated the necessary funds to respond immediately to violations of the 150-foot no camping rule. Funds need to be allocated, as I'm told time again by impact, they don't have the money and the crews to do the cleanup. So I know you can't address all these right now. I will be sending this memo to you from the coalition of the adjacent neighbors that are fighting and wanting more support, since you're pushing through and expanding 30 pods to 100 directly across the street from our homes. Thank you for your time.
Thank
And I want to expand on that just a minute, if I may, Lottie. I want to make sure that I will facilitate making sure that they receive that paperwork. I did get your email. And yeah, I think we need to put some of those, we need to put the coalition's thoughts, positions on the table. I feel. So thank you for that. Are there any other thoughts, comments, questions for our guests?
Drake, did you want
Here
to
we
say
go.
something?
Oh, who was that?
Oh,
We've
Hendrik,
got
you
one.
just
Oh, Hendrik, did you have any thoughts on that?
We'll look forward to seeing that paper that was just discussed, and as a team, we will review all those items. Absolutely. So thank you.
Good. Okay, thank you. All right, and we have a question from the audience here as well.
Hi, my name is James Peterson. I own the property directly across the street. It's a woodworking shop. Unfortunately, there was never any expansion or any community involvement in the expansion of this as required in the ordinance where the $3 million was used to buy out the deed restriction. Can you please explain to me when that community involvement happened to the use of this property? And if not, why and when will that change? When will the use of this property, when will there be community involvement? We're being told this will happen, but there was no community involvement. This is inconsistent with goal 1, the city code, the 2040 comp plan. Please get back to me when this will happen. The other notice, if you look at the existing site plan and you look at Portland maps, it does not appear, if you're going to use the same spacing, that you can put 100 units on asphalt area. It's just relatively obvious. Currently, there has to also be parking. And presently, All Good Northwest has between 1 and 7 cars there daily. And there's between 0 and 5 cars for the residents. That's a lot of, you increase that 3 times, it's an awful lot of parking spaces. And that all needs to be on site. So these things need to be addressed. I just don't see how you're going to get 100 units unless you really squish those units awfully close together, and then the noise is going to be unbearable for the residents, let alone the people across the street. My dog gets woken up 2 or 3 times a night, and I'm inside of a commercial building. This is not the impact of the surrounding community is tremendous. Look at the decrease in enrollment at West Hills Christian School. You can look at it online. You open this up to another 3 times the size, I wouldn't be surprised if West Hills Christian School doesn't go out of business. Have you had that impact? And what is the distance between a school and the Safe Rest Village? I hope, please answer some of my questions. Thank you very much.
And one thing I will say too, Lottie, is that I want to make sure that everybody's comments are documented and able to be shared with you. So I will make it a point. I will make it a point to send you the transcripts of some of these questions, and so that you have them to address and to answer. So just FYI.
Thanks, Moses. I can answer some of them. We are looking to include on-site parking. The fence line will be moving out into that area where the Peabot construction used to be to make room for new shelter units. Additionally, we are moving closer to the other side of the Sears building. We're still figuring out the right distance from the neighbors who are up on that hill. But we are expanding the sightline to make sure that there's an appropriate amount of space between all of the units brought on site. I can't speak to your other questions right now, and I look forward to Moses providing that document.
So then, oh, okay, yes, no, that's not Patrick, is it?
Carolyn.
That's Patrick's wife. Okay, yeah, please, go
Hello.
ahead. Okay, go ahead.
Hi. If it is determined that someone is using drugs, one of the residents is using drugs on the premises, what exactly is the protocol for dealing with that situation? I think this is relevant considering how close the facility is to a school.
Lottie, can I go ahead? So I have not yet met with All Good Northwest. I'm meeting with them this week. I'm going to learn a lot more about that site. But my experience with other sites has been that in general, we do not allow drug use on site. When we find someone to be breaking the rules, we have ways to work with those individuals. And we don't think the best way to do that is by dismissing them from site immediately on a first incident.
What is that? What is the procedure then? What are the ways?
So I can't speak to that because I don't know yet. I'm just sharing my experience with how we generally approach this issue at other sites, and I'm going to learn that, but we can answer this more in detail later. But generally speaking, dismissing someone onto site might just create more problems within the neighborhood. And so usually what we do is we approach that with let's work with this individual and try to get them to be more open to other services like addiction services and try to encourage better choicing. I won't speak further than that because I don't want to speak misinformed. So we can provide more answer there. And Lottie just added something as well.
So from what I know about All Good, and I wish Andy was here to speak for his own program, but when they have someone with substance use issues within the shelter, it is considered a barrier to long-term stable housing, and it's treated as a healthcare issue. They're not allowed to use on site, and there's a lot of accountability to those folks about what they're going to do to make sure that they can move on from those substance use issues and figure out what they want to do moving forward. What that looks like for them specifically will depend on their case manager and their just own personal journey. However, there's no drug use that's specifically permitted on site. It's part of all of our community guidelines at all of our sites.
I had another question, and that is there a database of the amount of times the police have had to be called to these facilities, all of the Safe Rest Village facilities in Portland? A database of various incidents that have been recorded that the public is free to access.
We do not have a crime database at this time specific to the shelters, other than whatever resources the police have available publicly.
All right, it is 8:12 right now. I've allowed the conversation to go on because obviously this is a hot topic and there were some good questions here. I know that the takeaway I want to have from this conversation that we're having right now is making sure that we continue this conversation, Lottie. there's obviously a lot of opinions about this, and I want to make sure that the adjacent property owners are fully heard. So I want to make sure that I want to document all of the questions that they had for you tonight and get it sent over to you. And we can start to address those. I also want to I want to follow up on the good neighbor agreement. And I just want to say something about that good neighbor agreement. If the only thing that was stopping the signature signing off on that good neighbor agreement was the background checks, that means that we agree on 98% of that good neighbor agreement. So I feel like if the resistance is coming from the Joint Office of Homeless Services to sign it for background checks, okay, fine. We can still sign an agreement that agrees on everything else. And I think we all agree on that, on everything else. It's just the background checks. And that's been the impediment for the last year and a half, 2 years since we worked on this. So I would like to see movement. We need to have some forward movement on that good neighbor agreement. I mean, just if anything, so that we have the assurance of what's expected and what from both of us, from all of the stakeholders, adjacent property owners, the school, the neighborhood association, et cetera, So I'll make sure I'll be following up on that, and I'll be reporting back at our next meeting to the status of that. And with any luck, God willing, maybe we can come back here in 30 days and have a signed good neighbor agreement. That would go a long way. But I'll work with you on that, Lottie, okay?
Okay, Moses. And I mean, we're all in agreement. Like, I was talking to Brandy today actually about how we can bring this agreement home. So we're all really invested in getting that signed. And I want to apologize for my whole team that it hasn't been. We are learning as we are growing, and I'm just here to do better. And Hendrik and I are here and are always available to listen. So.
Well, we appreciate that very much. And, I'm grateful that we haven't had any major incidents over the last year and a half at the SRV. And I feel like we're kind of blessed in that sense. But, as you know, tripling in size is a big deal. That's a big deal. And so I just want to make sure that my neighbors are heard here and some of these issues are addressed. So great. Lottie, thank you.
Thank you, Moses.
Sorry to interrupt. Can the lady that spoke about from the Adjacent Neighbors Coalition, can her or their group's contact information be shared with us, please?
Yeah. I'll make sure of that. I'll put it in the chat here as soon as we keep on going.
Thank you.
I've got your email too, so I'll put that into the chat so everybody can have that. And I know that Lisa, that coalition. Yeah, if you want to learn more about it, you can, and I'll put that in the email.
One last thing I'll
go
say,
ahead.
Moses. I will be at the Hillsdale Farmers Market on Sunday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So if you would like to chat in person, I would be happy to see you there. Sydney from All Good Northwest and I will both be there.
Very good. Very good. You're a brave young woman, Lottie. I love that. Okay. But I am glad that you're partaking in the Hillsdale market, because that is just an awesome little farmers market. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you both very much. And I'm sure this conversation will be continuing. Hendrik, did you have any last words?
No, just thank you. And I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Good. All righty. Very good. Thank you. All righty, folks. God, that's just damn disappointing. I'm sitting here looking at a baggie full of, I don't even know what it is, that, and This sort of stuff really frustrates me. So here, wait a minute, I'm going to give this back to you, but you made your point for sure. You've made your point. Mhm. Ugh.
So say nothing makes it happen. Stuff is happening. And it's gonna continue to happen if this thing grows. There's gotta be mitigation, there's gotta be security, and it can't be, I'm gonna, call the police and wait 5 hours.
Right. And see, and right. Well, as we go along with this, you know, the buffer zone was the big deal. You'll remember having that buffer zone all around the neighborhood or around the SRV. And we were even able to get an extension of that, a widening of the normal 150-foot because of the Christian school, because of the school, and even had that applied further. But what it comes down to is in the enforcement of it, right? And so, you know, I just want to throw this out here. One solution that the Pearl District came up with, the neighborhood association down in the Pearl, they were able to develop their own security force, an organization. They formed another nonprofit separate from the Pearl District Neighborhood Association, specifically to do trash, graffiti abatement, and security services. And I thought that was a heck of an idea. And they've been very effective in mitigating some of that impact. And they have taken the pressure off of the local police department, off the police to respond to situations. You know, they were bragging to me about how they have responded within 9 minutes with well, that's right. It's because of their nonprofit. What they're doing is that they're making arrangements with the apartment complexes down there in the Pearl to pay like a HOA fee to them for the service. And then they expand it not just to that apartment complex, but to the entire neighborhood using that money from their HOA, from that HOA. It's a heck of an idea. I like it. And I'm wondering, you know, maybe we need to start talking about something like that, you know? That's one of the benefits of us being a new 501c3, where we have it gives us some more options. And I'm willing to try to, you know, do some homework on that for us to see if maybe that's something that we might need to do, given the new size of this. I don't think that, you know, our own private security force would have been appropriate for 30. Hundreds of different issues. That's a lot. And, you know, so maybe we need to start looking at those other options. I'm just saying. Go ahead, please.
Which has been set up. How does that connect to all of this? Because it seems like that.
Okay, so that's a really good point. Thank you for bringing that up, Robin. Okay, we have a community advisory committee that had been set up.
Yeah, please. We couldn't hear what she said.
Oh, Robin was talking about the community advisory committee for the that we have formed for the Safe Rest Village. Myself, Charmaine, and Will Fuller are on that committee. And the intention is to be the conduit for challenges, for comments like what Lisa, you know, thoughts, to funnel them up, to be a kind of a conduit. So that's one way, you know, we can get information, have a pathway of information back and forth beyond these listening sessions and beyond these types of discussions. Jim, I'll give you, yeah. Go ahead, Jim. I'm going to give you a chance, but please.
My concern with the stakeholders group is that they don't have public meetings and there's no minutes. The only information that I've gotten is secondary through Frank. I was originally appointed to that committee and then I was taken off. And I have a significant piece of property that's decreased substantially with what's happened. The other problem that is not being really addressed in that bag is a good example of it, is that there are drugs all over. because they can't use it on the property. I used to take my dog over the CenturyLink property for years. I can't do it anymore. There are drugs all over it. What can I say? I have pictures of drugs on my property. What do? I just clean them up. Calling 311 doesn't do a lot of good.
311 is kind of just put it out there, you know. I've also sent pictures to all good Northwest. It's a waste of time too.
Well, I will say this. Oh, yes, here, go ahead. Wait a minute, let me get you the mic.
I just wanted to add that the packet, not to diminish what's in that baggie, but that's not just a symptom of that development. That's a symptom of the fentanyl crisis as a whole. You can find those baggies, the contents of those, at every school in our area. You can find them in Spring Garden Park. You can find them in Woods Memorial. You can find those everywhere. So I just want to make sure that we're clear that that's not necessarily a direct, just exclusive to that situation. We have a corner lot on Dolph and 36th, and where unfortunately, people throw stuff out the car windows. I understand. I'm not saying, that's what I'm saying. I'm not here to diminish that. I just want to say that the crisis that you're seeing is bigger than just that establishment.
And that's a valid point. I mean, you know, what we're seeing here in our neighborhood is a symptom. The bigger problem is the fentanyl crisis. The bigger problem is the houselessness problem. And the bigger problem is the addictions, you know, and so, you know, our challenge is how do we mitigate it with our current situation with SRV? And one last comment here from Jane.
I'm going to just jump ahead a little bit, guys, because this was something I was going to address in the safety committee report, but this is so valid right now at this time for all of us to know. In my interviews with property managers in Multnomah, and specifically the ones that are run by Home Forward, the Northwest Housing Authority, the multiple dwellings that include vouchers for houseless. And over the last 2 months, the time I've spent with these people who have to deal with this has not been uplifting. It has been extremely informative. And I think we all need to be aware that this is something that's not going to go away, number one. And every one of them said the same thing. Learn how to take care of yourself, take care of your neighbor, be aware, stay connected, number one. So I think this kind of coming together and sharing what we're scared of, what we're seeing out there, this is really necessary. And I think encouraging for us going forward, now we can make some plans. We can get together. We can talk about how do we help each other out here, because it isn't going to go away. And whether you're living in a house with a dog or in an apartment building with 54 other people, we all have to deal with this daily. So our safety and our awareness is what connects us right now. And that's not a bad thing. So I just want to say it's great that we're coming together. And I think we can find solutions. And I'll repeat one more thing. Like an umbrella, the mind only works when it's open. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. I appreciate that. You know, and I appreciate you also refocusing this conversation a little bit towards a positive outcome. But yeah, we do have some work to do. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Well, I think we've beat this dead horse enough for the night. There's obviously going to be more conversations about the SRV expansion. I will make it a point to, Jim, I know you have, I want you to document those questions that you had and they were valid, and I'll make sure that they get them and they get answered. Same with you, Lisa. If you get me those, I'll get them over there and we'll get them answered. Now, and yeah, we just got to keep this conversation going here. And I'll make sure we do. Okay. All right. Now, we have, yeah,
Moses,
go ahead, Beth.
you would please include my questions about if they decide they want to use the Sears building.
Oh, great point. Great point, Beth. Beth's point was that, you know, it's so out of compliance, the building is, how do you expect to have people in there, you know, with the asbestos and the water the way it is and such, the water pipe. So thank you for that, Beth. Okay.
And the ADA accessibility.
Oh, and the ADA compliance. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's move on here to our committee updates. I know our treasurer, who is also the chair of the Budget and Finance Committee, has a few things that he wants to talk about.
This is Tad Davis, representing the Budget and Finance Committee. For those in the room, I just gave you 3 pages. Look at the last page first. This is a new motion shared with several board members, be new to others, and need to change the the first word there of the motion. It's not I am making the motion. It is the Budget and Finance Committee that's making the motion. And as you can see, this is in 2 parts. I'm going to read the motion first, and then I'm going to tell you why we're making the motion. The Budget and Finance Committee moves that A, the Multnomah Neighborhood Association request that Sweeney transfer the Friends of Spring Garden Park account, which is a restricted account, to the MNA. And B, that the MNA create a Spring Garden Park budget in that amount when the funds are received. Is Carol Schmidt in the room? Hi, Carol. Glad you made it. The background on this is that, well, the folks at Sweeney tell me that they have to disperse of all of the funds that don't directly belong to Sweeney. And the Friends of Spring Garden Park account is one of those that isn't Sweeney money, but it has, as far as I can tell, always been associated with the Multnomah Neighborhood Association, even though in meetings like this one, we've never really been in a decision-making position on that. But again, Sweeney has to give this money to somebody. They have to give it to a 501c3. Spring Garden Park is within our neighborhood boundaries, so it is quite natural from Sweeney's point of view that it come to the Multnomah Neighborhood Association. I have talked to, I had a recent conversation with Carol Schmidt, who is still the chair of the Friends of Spring Garden Park Committee, and she is in support of this motion. May I state that correctly? Okay. So the idea here is that this committee, which has been apart from the association forever, be absorbed by the Multnomah Neighborhood Association, that it become another committee of the neighborhood association and be given a budget, well, the budget that's already in their name at Sweeney. And that's what this motion is meant to accomplish. I'll take questions.
Just a minute.
So just so you know, I'm Carol Schmidt. I was the chair of the temporary installation that went into Spring Garden Park, the chair of all the design charrettes that we did to build that park. And have since reluctantly, I'm looking for people to help chair. My kids are now grown and I'm still chair. But what the money is, it's $2,500 plus change that's been in our account. COVID shut us down for a good portion of events. But what we want the money, the reason we want the money in a budget for Spring Garden Park is because we still have the nest. If any of you have been there, Hans Wingate did an art installation, a public art installation in that park. It's called the Nest. It's a beautiful structure. It's joyous and it brings people see it, and it's a signature of the park. We do need to repair that event, and hands of us have been trained in how to do that. We have to buy willow branches because we can't get them naturally, among other some materials. And we have a relationship with Hans and his crew to do just that. The other money that we hope to be able to use out of that, if we don't use it all for the Nest, is to have a summer event. We've historically applied to summers in the park, for movies in the park, some other events, and we'd like to continue that sporadically, not all the time, but sporadically. So we hope that any of you want to, if you don't know where the park is, it's just down the street, about 5 blocks from here. And it's a heavily used park. It's got a natural area, play area, and an entire natural, it's based on nature play. And it's got a natural area too. So we invite you to come and see it. But we just wanted to make sure that that money was protected for Spring Garden Park activity. That's it.
I have a question about that. Okay.
Beth?
Who makes the decisions about how that money is spent?
Our friends group.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Our friends group. There's about
And then-
9 people that actively participate, but it's been open whenever we've met.
So is the motion is to move the funds to M&A, and then is the idea that a subcommittee for Friends kind of lives under there, and then it would be your proposal when you say we would like X amount of dollars for this, and then that's how it would work?
Yeah, out of the money that's in the budget. Yes. We would say we'd like to spend it on willow branches.
I'd entertain a motion from one of the members of the board to,
This is Diane Parrish. I make the motion.
yes, you certainly can. Thank you, Diane. Is there a second for the motion? Okay, we have a second from Jane. We have on, right now on the voting members of myself, Beth Omansky, Jane Green, Lisa, or pardon me, Julie Leet and Tad. 2, 3, 4.
Will Fuller is on Zoom.
5, 6. So we have a quorum to be able to vote. So all the board members and officers, if you approve of this motion, please signify it by raising your hand. Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those in favor, all those opposed, say nay. Okay. Beth, I didn't record your vote. Are you a yay on this motion or a nay?
I'm an abstain.
Abstain. Thank you. So that's fine. So we have approved that motion then. And what we'll be doing is we'll be going forward with that request from Sweeney to have the money transferred over. And then it'll be a budget line item in our ongoing budget to do things at Spring Garden Park.
Excuse me, Moses, could you repeat the vote on that? I believe there's 1 abstention, but I don't know how many ayes and nays.
Myself, Julie, Jane, Tad, yourself, and Diane voted aye. and Beth abstained.
Okay. So that was how many ayes? 7?
6 ayes and 1 abstain.
Okay.
Perfect. Sounds good. Okay, so that motion passes. Next up, Tad, is that the only motion?
The
There's
only
3
motion
more.
from that committee.
Yes.
But what's that? Oh, you're welcome. But before moving into the other motions from the Standing Rules Committee, a point of order that motions that come from a committee do not require a second because it's already multiple people involved behind the motion. So what I have passed out in hard copy in the room and by email to every board member already is a list of 4 motions as developed and approved by the Standing Rules Committee. These, if approved, these become our first standing rules. And rules may sound like a harsh description of these, but they're largely about procedure, to develop procedures to make us more effective, more efficient, and if in a couple of these, more inclusive. So starting with the first motion, motion number 1. For the sake of document consistency and version control, the Standing Rules Committee moves the adoption of the following dating conventions for documents that are to be shared outside of the committee that created them. A, date stamps are to appear as a footnote, also known as a footer, in the bottom right-hand corner of the document, preferably in 12-point Verdana font. B, for documents that have been approved by the board, the date stamp should read, board approved on year, month, day. For documents that have not been approved by the board, the date stamp should include the time also as follows: month, day, year, hour, and minute. Any discussion?
Hearing no discussion, I would entertain, well, it's been, the motion has been made for number 1. It doesn't require a second. So if, let's go ahead and have a vote on motion number 1, which would be the standing rule, the dating conventions for the documents. All in favor of that, say aye.
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 All against, say nay. That has been adopted. Thank you. Motion 1. Next up, Tad, is motion number 2.
Motion 2. The Standing Rules Committee moves the adoption of the following accessibility statement. The Multnomah Neighborhood Association is committed to the law and spirit of the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 and other relevant civil rights laws in all its activities. As examples, our monthly meetings are held via Zoom and in person in a wheelchair accessible venue for the benefit of maximum attendance. If you require ASL interpretation, alternative formats of print materials, or other in-person access, contact secretary at mnapdx.org at least 5 days in advance. We understand many people have chemical sensitivities. Therefore, please refrain from wearing scented products when attending meetings in person. Discussion.
Is there any discussion on the second motion for the accessibility statement? Hearing none, I'll move to a vote. All in favor of motion number 2, please say aye.
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 All against, say nay. Any abstentions? Hey, Beth, did you want to vote yay or nay or abstain on this vote?
Oh, I voted, I voted yay.
Okay, thank you. Wonderful. That's been approved then, and we have unanimous approval. Finally, motion number 3.
Motion 3, the Standing Rules Committee moves that all M&A committees are to have at least 2 members. Discussion.
I personally am in favor of this motion. Here, oh, wait a second. We've got some discussion.
Obviously I approve, but it's interesting because we just talked about Carol being the chair of the Spring Garden, and so I don't think she's on, but I'm going to ask if Pam, Corinne, or Stefan want to be the second because of for proximity reasons and their activity in the area. So.
Very good. Okay, so if there's no more discussion, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of motion number 3 to have at least 2 members on any standing committee, please say aye.
No, not only,
Aye.
at least.
At least.
No.
At least 2 members.
Big difference.
Sure is. That motion, I believe, passes. Yep. Everybody said yes? Okay, wonderful. We do have now all 4 of the motions that have been proposed by, didn't we do? Oh, yeah. Pardon me. Motion number 4.
Motion 4, the Standing Rules Committee moves the adoption of the consent form as distributed. This was sent an attachment to the email with these motions and is in your hand for those in the room. Moves the adoption of the consent form as distributed for use as a printed document only, not for online use. Before inviting discussion, I just want to make clear that explain what this consent form is. Filling out this consent form is required for an eligible person to become a member of the neighborhood association. Yeah. Right. Technical issues. Discussion?
Is there activity to modify it for accessibility? And then another motion will be made to allow it to be used online?
Yep.
May I address that?
Cool.
Go ahead, Beth. Yeah.
We've had lots of work trying to get it to become a fillable PDF so that it would be accessible to everyone online. And so far have gotten close to the finish line, but not close enough. And just recently, as I emailed our group, the Standing Rules Committee, that a group of disabled researchers finally got back to me with their answer, and they've suggested that we try creating a Google form to see if that will be accessible. And I'm hoping that somebody will do that, and I'm more than happy to test it. So I hope that happens, and if we can get that done, then we will discard the fillable PDF idea, and then the version that is in print now will become obsolete, I would say, so that the online version will become the version, and that would also be able to be printed out for use in in-person meetings. Hope I said that all correctly.
Yes. Very good, Beth. Thank you. All right. If there's no other
Excuse me. Can I recruit somebody to try doing a Google form so that I can test it?
I can help you with
Sure.
that, Beth. We can connect offline.
And who's this?
Diane,
Oh, that would be awesome, Diane. Thank you.
no problem.
Okay, wonderful. And so the final step here is if there's no more discussion, let's take a vote on approval of motion or not approval of number 4, motion number 4. All those in favor of motion number 4 to move to adopt the consent form as distributed as a printed document only, not for online use, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Beth, are you giving me an aye?
Yes, aye.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Any nay, all those against say nay. Any abstentions? Very good. Oh, yes, Diane?
Abstain.
Oh, thank you. Okay. We have majority ayes, so we have approved motion number 4. Tad, thank you for all of your work on these. Yeah, we got all that done. That is good. Now, let's see, where else are we at? I know that we are getting really, really close to 9 p.m. and I don't want to spend too much time left here. We got budget, we got standing rules. Will, you're up next for the Community Advisory Committee and the Equity Committee. As succinct as you can be, please.
Well, I think the advisory committee has been already discussed that we're waiting for the Good Neighbor Agreement to get finalized, and we got 100 people, and we are prepared to act as a conduit for people's concerns or comments and of all sorts about the SRV. That's that. We're as impatient as anybody about getting that GNA going. On equity, I had 2 items. I'll name them without time for discussion at this point. The first is I want some feedback on what people's priorities are for equity activities. And equity activities are activities designed to make this as much as possible an association and neighborhood which is open, fair, welcoming, and safe. So get that thoughts in mind. You can email me at equity@mnapdx.org or phone me at 503-764-5501. The second is I'm making concerted outreach to people who are not usually represented with a particular emphasis in the Muslim community. And that's an unusual emphasis because there aren't that many, but Islam is a culture and a religion that is not as Eurocentric as our usual organizations are. And so it's a way of tapping into the ideas of people who have not lived the European basis of what becomes some people call white supremacy rather than rather pejorative. So we broaden not only the number of people, but the kind of cultures that we are using to make our policies. And that's my report.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. Pam and Corinne have both caught some bug from their kids. So, so they are not here to be able to report on community events, which is unfortunate, but we'll catch up to them next month. Public safety and then livability subcommittee. First off, Beth, for public safety.
Yes. I don't have much to report about public safety because we are going to be having our very first in-person public safety committee meeting on the 15th, the day after tomorrow. So next month we hope a lot to report. And I'm going to just talk about the Civic Opportunities Bulletin. I'm going to vote that this month and okay this with BOSIS to just publicizing, I'm sorry, I'm saying that wrong, publicizing the very good report that our subcommittee wrote. They called it a blurb, I call it an article, and it's wonderful, and it deserves a lot of attention. So that's what our Civic Opportunities Bulletin will be this month.
Excellent.
And now I'd like to turn it over to our Livability Subcommittee.
Now, do you have anything to report on the apartment complex outreach, Jane?
I did have an
Sarah?
update on. What happened?
Dana,
Beth,
I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I know we're running out of time here. So just real quick, Since our last meeting, I have met with 3 more people regarding the apartment situation in Multnomah. As I mentioned earlier tonight, with some very, very powerful results. And my intention, I think, is when we meet on Thursday, the safety committee, is to really go into more detail about that and come up with a plan to go forward and include some of these people who would like to be advisors as we move forward. And I think that would be fabulous. So we just need to kind of talk about that. But those 3 meetings included the program manager with Do Good Shelter on Barber. Alex does a phenomenal job and has some really good insight specifically about the safety issues. And that's what the concern is, including the drug usage and so on. And meeting also with Northwest Housing Authority, a resident manager who also is interested in staying in touch with us. And then I had a 3rd meeting with IPM building manager. So all of this stuff gives us some good meat on the bones going forward. And there'll be updates on that for sure. So thanks.
Very good. Next up, the livability subcommittee and Julie Leet and her awesome work.
Just really quickly, we've been doing a number of things to put things in place for graffiti removal and abatement, which is what we're calling it. We've been able to partner with some local businesses that have had some graffiti problems, including the Coin Cottage. So we're working with Metro to get the paint, and then we'll be waiting for 2 dry days in March, and we will begin the graffiti removal and then ensuring that it remains that way. We've identified other locations, businesses, and nonprofits that could use the same type of service. We're reaching out to them. We're also arranging a solve cleanup event for Barber Boulevard on March 9th, and we'll be sending out invitations to people who want to sign up for that. There will be an Earth Day event in the village, very family friendly cleanup event on the 20th of April, 10 to 12, and we'll have other volunteer events relating to trash and graffiti cleanup, and communicate them through the messenger and our social media.
So cool. In case you guys didn't catch that, we've got a bunch of events coming up with Solve and with graffiti abatement, and I'm so excited. I'm all in, Julie. I'm all in. Sweeney, is there anything to report for Sweeney, Beth?
Nope.
Okay.
Unless you have
Transportation.
some-
No, I do
I mean,
not.
you have, okay.
No, I don't, unfortunately. There is a, under transportation, I know that Robbie and Karen have been waiting very patiently here. I want to just address it really quickly for our next meeting. There has been the Southwest Troy Bike Cred project has been, we've been asked by Robbie and Karen to write a letter in support of the, in general of the, oh, Robbie, Karen, are you on by chance?
I
want to
am.
make sure I want to get this right. What I'm trying to do, could you give me a quick synopsis of that motion so I can make sure that other board members hear it, and then we can vote on it next month?
Don't have it in front of me.
Oh, okay. Give me the 30-second version if you don't mind, and then just to let them know what we're trying to do here, and then we can I can separate. I'm going to write a letter. I want to write a letter expressing that to the city, and then we can also do a formal motion for it next month. Oh, Jason.
Well, I really want to, I would love to just read it to you because it's, it has more gumph in its entirety. Where
Oh.
I'm getting over to a computer right now, so I
Oh,
can
you
have
know,
it in front of me. Can you go someplace else and then come back to me in about 30 seconds?
oh, you know what, here's what I could do. I don't mean to put you on the spot, Karen, and this is something that
No, I
we need
just
to
wasn't
have.
prepared. Sorry.
Oh, no, 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 but it's okay because I want to be able to cut. We
Oh, I
have
have it in front of, okay,
we have
less
2
than,
minutes left.
in less than 30 seconds. Okay, I'm gonna read the motion in its entirety. Are you ready?
Perfect. Go for it.
Okay. Community and livability are integral parts of a neighborhood that brings folks together. The streets that are part of these neighborhoods make that connection possible, enhancing community spirit, livability, mental and physical health through walking, biking, and engaging in conversation. Local service neighborhood streets make it made inequitable by above average and cut through traffic conflict with those positive and important functions of life, present safety hazards and harm health through noise and air pollution. I move that MNA support neighborhood community, livability, and safety by encouraging the city to implement traffic mitigation measures that stop traffic from cutting through local service neighborhood streets and instead channel that traffic to nearby major transit streets intended for that purpose. That concept should also include encouragement of the city by MNA in every effort to impose that same criteria for that proposed Southwest Canby Troy Neighborhood Greenway project.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm glad that you were able to pull that, find that. What I want to do.
I'd like to make a friendly amendment.
Oh, it's not a motion that we're voting on right now. What we're running out of time. But what I want to do is I do want to make sure that all the board members get a copy of this motion and some background so that we can ask some questions. This is in relation to the Southwest Troy walk bike ped proposal, improvements along Southwest Troy. And the biggest challenge has been getting them to put a barrier, a diversion barrier to traffic. And that's fundamentally what we're talking about here. And Robin, I'm involved in this, but Robin and Karen, Robbie and Karen are seeing it, are really involved with this. And so it's a big issue for both of us. And that's why I want to bring it to want to bring it to the attention of all the board members. B, make sure that we get on record of our support for this greenway and for the diversion of traffic from these residential streets to arterial roads that are meant for that traffic.
And Moses, can I add, and of course, this project's already underway, but we should look at other roads as well that are in Multnomah neighborhood that are, that see more traffic than they're supposed to.
That's exactly right, Karen. And we're going to be working with Stefan, the transportation chair. He's been involved in this. And we'll get it through the committee and we'll be reporting back next month. And we'll probably have we'll have a motion for the board to be able to review and vote on, and also a letter that I'd like to be able to send to the city showing our support for this and what our challenges are with their current plans. So, okay. Karen, thank you for hanging out with me. I'm glad that we've got this in front of everybody, and we'll take care of it. We'll do this.
Thanks for bringing it up. Thank you, Moses.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Okay, no new business. Next meeting, we have a guest speaker who will be giving an update on the I-5 Southwest 26th Avenue construction project. That's getting really hot and heavy. They're going to be actually closing I-5 for a weekend to put that bridge in. So it's getting hot and heavy there, and they'll be giving us they wanted to come and explain face to face to the neighborhood. Did I? Yeah. Oh my goodness, I'd entertain an emotion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Yay. Okay, we are finished.